Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast with two guys in their 20s, giving their perspective on the games that we love and the story behind it all. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. Wi-Fi's really slow, but we're gonna get through.
Any Oscar predictions?
I don't have any because every prediction I've
Go
done in the
Roma. Go
previous
Roma.
years, huh?
Go Roma.
Yeah. Hopefully,
It's an incredible movie.
Man, look, every movie that I think or actor who's gonna get the grant.
That's the thing, though. Every movie you think that should probably win the Best Picture, usually doesn't win.
It doesn't at all, and I'm like, how? I didn't even see this movie. How did they win?
Supporting
actors, but it's politics.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it's politics.
Maybe if Kevin Hart was hosting, we'd have a little more interest. I don't know.
That's the funny.
What do you think? If Kevin Hart was hosting, how more interested would you be in watching it?
I didn't watch it when Chris Rock hosted. So, Chris Rock, Kevin Hart,
yeah.
It's not
gonna change.
Yeah, I don't really watch the Oscars because I think they snagged a lot of people. A lot of people should have won. Angela Bassett.
Oh yeah.
Been won Oscar, but whatever.
All right. Well, we've done our brief pop culture segment.
Sweet.
But to start it off, this past Wednesday, when Duke played North Carolina, Zion 33 seconds in the game had an injury, blew through right through his shoe, and he's going to be out probably a couple of weeks. I think it's not like as a severe of an injury as it could have been once we saw it. But Duke, they were able to beat Syracuse yesterday with Barrett having 30 points and 7 assists. And it's interesting because the last time we were you and I were on, you were saying, and it didn't register to me because I just didn't think it happened. You'd say you were saying like if Zion goes down, Duke goes down as well. And we were saying that it just seemed like right after it happened, they were just shell shocked. They were like, how do we exist without him? Like is it even possible for us to still be competent without him? And they really struggled in that game, but they were able to have an impressive win in a hostile environment. But first of all, what are your thoughts on how Duke can fare without him, and also just because there's been this constant discussion about, hey, should Zion just shut it down, get ready for the draft? And we know Zion's not going to do that because he's a competitive guy, or should he just stick it out? But what are your thoughts overall?
Well, you said it. We talked about it multiple times, saying that if Zion went down, and I said this I guess the last two podcasts was like, God forbid he went down and it was a freak accident that's broke his shoe, and then Nike stock went down
immediately
$1.5 billion. So it was a funny situation, but outside that, it was a serious Zion's hurt, but like you said, they looked stunned. They didn't know. Like I said, Zion Williamson is the leader of that basketball team, given the seniors or the other guys, but his presence on the basketball court is bigger than anybody's in college basketball right now. And I told you this multiple times. When he's on the court, he gives his all. He goes out. He breaks out his shoes. He's jumping over rims to block. The guy is a phenomenal player, but without him, you saw it, they went down. But I like how they rebound against Syracuse, which is a pretty good basketball team. They play great defense, and I like how Barrett came and showed up, 30 points. He played big minutes though, 40 minutes. But I like how he stepped up to the plate and actually initiated like, look, Zion's not here, but we got to step up. We have to have an identity with him. And Duke has an identity. His name is from I think it's Vancouver. Is it Vancouver or is it Toronto?
Toronto.
He's from Toronto. Okay, I know he's from Canada. I thought it was Vancouver. That's Vancouver.
Well,
okay.
His goddad is Steve Nash, so he's got a strong Canadian.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Tie there.
See, that's what you're here for, Wellington. You drop bombs like this, man. You pick me up when I'm lost. No, I didn't even know that. Steve Nash. Well, Steve Nash should have taught him how to shoot.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things with Barrett and Reddish, like how much of this stretch without Zion do you think they're going to be like, okay, this is a time where we can show that we can also step up we can also step into to the plate, because they're going to be, you know, top 3 lottery picks like this offseason, and just the fact that, you know, when you lose a player like that, there's a hole that needs to be filled. You know, there's a void that like that's obviously missing. So how much do you think the onus is going to be like? Because we saw in the Gonzaga game, it was just Barrett attacking, and it almost feels like in the Syracuse game, like that was the mindset as well, like attack first and like have the offense run through him. Like, do you kind of see like that's how they're going to run their offense now through Barrett when Zion's out?
It has to be, because he's the number one guy, but he's not the number one guy because Zion has such a big presence, and he's the storyline, and you kind of forget about, oh, freak, they have RG Barrett. We talked about having blue collar players on your basketball team. They have those multiple with Reddish, they have it in Barrett, and we all know in Zion. So you put him on the back burners, not you know, purposely, but it's just because of how good Zion is. Exactly. And he puts no knock to RJ. But Zion, like I said, I reiterate this multiple times, he put his all onto the court. You see that every time he plays. And I don't think RJ has that, but he has that leadership enough to say, okay, I could put the ball on the ground and make my own shot and drive it to the hole because no one can stop me. And I think if he continues to have that mindset, they have to run through him. There's no other way. They have to run the offense through him. And they showed that against Syracuse, who has, like I reiterate, they have a great defense. But their offense has to be RJ. Cam is not going to be a big scorer, but he does play big minutes. He does his job. But he's not the guy who's going to score the big buckets is going to be RJ. Hands down. Offense has to go through him.
Yeah.
If they want a shot.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. So with, you know, whenever Zion comes back, are you in the camp of, okay, just, you know, because this whole entire injury just brings up the notion of, it brings up the ever so present argument of that, hey, these guys, you know, they're being taken advantage of by the NCAA, and, you know, the institutions, you know, are I mean, Zion's a superstar and Duke's benefiting from it, and the NCAA's been benefiting from it. So do you think it's one of those things where, in terms of what you think Zion should do you think he should play if healthy, or do you think he should just shut it down? Because I don't see Zion shutting it down. He's too much of a competitor.
No, he's definitely not going to shut it down. That's what kind of kid he is. He wants to play. He wants to play for his team. He wants to play for Coach K. That's why he picked it over Kentucky. That's why he picked over all the basketball team, all the scholarships he had. He wanted to play for Coach K. Legendary coach who puts his all for his team, and it's likewise for his players. And I think Zion will continue to play once he gets back, because he's itching to get back. Like he's handling it so well. That's what I like about Zion. He handles things so well, especially when a lot of guys like DeMarcus Cousins, Trey Young, you know, those guys telling him, yo, you need to sit down, worry about the draft. DeMarcus Cousins said college is bullcrap anyways. But it's so funny how those guys chime in. But I think they're right though, to be honest. But that's the type of player he is. These kids are getting they don't get anything returned. The amount of, okay, let's look at it this way. Tuition at Baylor for a basketball player, it's tuition regularly is like $60,000 a year. So you're there for maybe 1 year. $60,000. You know how much money they make, all these kids, with apparel, with ticket sales, with marketing, all kinds of stuff. They make millions of dollars and get contracts from different sponsors. And these kids, they get they get a free education, but that doesn't equal to what the school is getting back in return and what the NCAA is getting back in return. But I digress. But Zion, he's that type of kid. He wants to play. He's like a young kid. He really is a young kid. He's what, 18, 19?
Yeah, 18, 19.
Yeah, I would want to play if I was in the predicament and I didn't understand the severity of what the NCAA was and is, because I didn't understand that when I was in college. I just want to play football. But I would want to be on the court with my friends. Do you think
Zion understands the severity, but just he kind of just wants to relish his 1 year in college?
I think he's aware, but I don't think he understands. He's aware of it, but he doesn't understand. He's like, well, I'm playing the game I love, or I go to college for free, or I'm able to put on this, this canvas or this level of stage that I'm on that it kind of equals out to me. But he doesn't understand. But I think he's definitely aware of how much money the NCAA makes. Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, all these guys make so much money. But yeah, I think he's aware. He doesn't understand, but he's aware.
Yeah. Transitioning to the Lakers, they had a big 19-point comeback against Houston Thursday, and yesterday they had a 13-point loss to the Pelicans, and they're I think 3.5 games behind the Clippers for the 8th spot. And LeBron had a really good game. Had a really good, also had I think 27 and 9 last night, and took over the fourth quarter in the Houston game. But the experience and just I think one of the most staggering stats is they've given on average 115 points on 9 straight road games, which is like a franchise record. And obviously ever since Lonzo's been out, their defense has regressed at points. But in terms of the fact that they're really struggling defensively, and there's 22 games left, they're 3.5 games out of the 8th spot. How because we talked about it's very possible they can miss the playoffs. That's not something we really contemplated coming in. We knew it was a possibility, but we thought they would be a lot farther ahead at this point. But what are your thoughts on 22 games left? How they can how confident are you that they can flip the switch? Because obviously LeBron has, but it's going to matter how the supporting cast does that.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
I hate to take the line that we did last year, with the Raptors. They don't have enough. They
need more.
Don't have enough. They need more. They need more. See, that's why you pay the big bucks, but they need more. But no, they definitely don't have enough. They don't need more. They just don't have enough. Because the surge that LeBron had last year with the Cavaliers was enough because they had role players and guys that knew their role and played their roles. With now, they have more timid players than players who understand their role, like Caldwell Pope, Brandon Ingram, Kuzma, who I thought was going to be better this year because he had a great year last year. Yeah. So and then you have Lonzo's out. He's their defensive guy, but he still struggles on offense. So it's a lot of things. They have a lot of older guys. Hello?
Crew, yeah.
Oh, sorry. So they have a lot of guys that 1-year deals. It's just not their year. And LeBron's last surge is not going to be enough like it was for with the Cavaliers. Whole different team, whole different ball game with the West.
Whole different conference.
Whole different conference, man. They're getting behind. They still have a chance, but I don't think it's enough for them. They don't have those killers.
So you like the Kings over them making it, right?
Right now, I'm going to say yes. And not even right now. I say yes just because LeBron it's an interesting point. LeBron doesn't have that takeover mentality. And he's been hearing this his entire career. And I've kind of stood
because he's always been criticized for making the right play instead of being assertive.
Exactly. And that if he had that, I think he does, but he'd rather not, or he's scared of it. He doesn't want to be that type of player. But right now, the LA Lakers need that type of player. They need a Michael Jordan. They need a Kobe Bryant. They need a type of player who's going to take over games. Like, look, give me the ball. I don't care if I miss it. I'm going to shoot it. They don't have that. He's a field general, but they don't have that other guy like Kyrie or Dwayne Wade to pick up the slack for him. They don't have that guy. Rondo cannot do it. Bless his heart, Rondo can't do it, but they don't have that type of player. Yeah. And LeBron James, inadvertently, is not that type of player.
And and it's how much of a failure would this be? Them missing the. I mean, because we look at the fact that it seems like the management has missed out on just so many home runs, trading for Paul George 2 years ago. They were like, no, we want to keep Brandon Ingram. We don't want to give him up. And obviously, seeing how Paul George is playing right now, that was a huge mistake. And then also missing out on Kawhi and the Davis saga, just all of these things. Like, it, I kind of have a two-part question. If they don't miss the playoffs, how much of a failure is it? And also, would they have to at least get, because obviously they don't want to they don't want to be the 8th seed and have to get demolished by the Warriors. But like how much like of at least getting to 7th is important if they even make the postseason.
Well, it's more.
Because I think they would have to play either like OKC or Denver in the first round if they were at 7.
It's more important just to get in the playoffs.
Just to get in.
It doesn't even matter about the number for them, because if LeBron James misses the playoff, I think it doesn't affect his legacy, but it affects what type of player his legacy was, if that makes sense. Like I just said it with, he's not that guy to take over. And we gave him so much praise last year because that team with the Cavaliers were trash. Let's be honest. They were trash. Kevin Love was out. J.R. Smith was spotted. We see what he did in the NBA Finals. They traded for all these players from different players, and Hood said he didn't even want to play. It was just so much, and they made it to the NBA Finals with that. And we praised him so much. Okay, this guy is one of the greatest. He took this team. Now you look at him. You look at the Lakers. They have better talent on the Lakers than they have with the Cavaliers. They have more experience on the Lakers, I would say, with the veteran guys than they had on the Cavaliers. And look at the type of season. So I think it takes a hit on, like, okay, you're not the type of player to take over games like we thought you would be. Because we knew they're going to struggle. We knew they was going to struggle. There's still some hidden spots that they need to work on. But as the leader, you have to take the hit. And LeBron would definitely take the hit. It won't tarnish his legacy of like him being one of the greatest basketball players that ever stepped foot on the hardwood. Mm-hmm. But I would say it would take a hit on the type of player he was or is. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that it makes sense in my head. Just seeing like what type of player, Kobe Bryant was. He was solidified. I'm a scorer. And I can take over games. I could also dish it out. And, Michael Jordan did the same thing. Scottie Pippen did the same thing. But now we're like, okay, LeBron James can dish it. He can play defense, chase balls down, but he can't take over games. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can't hit winning shots. I know the percentage with Broussard put on the Herd. That was funny. I thought it was funny. I just gotta laugh at it, but he's not that guy to take over games. We've seen that multiple years back to back. Even when Kyrie went down, they still had an opportunity to win. He didn't take over games like he should. He doesn't have that Mamba mentality.
I think the one time he did though was the first finals against Golden State, where he was like when Kevin Love and Kyrie went out.
Oh yeah, Kevin Love did go out.
Yeah, and he almost like averaged 40 in that finals, and was like he was so close to getting Finals MVP even on a losing team, which would have been the first time since Jerry West had done that. So
that's right. That's why. See, this is why you get paid the big bucks. That's right.
This is your reoccurring. You always have a reoccurring statement or theme, and your theme today is this is why you get paid the big bucks. One.
I'm glad you know there's a pattern, man. A lot of people don't know the pattern. But no, that's right. That is right. That's correct. Why can't he do that every night?
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, do you think it's because? Like, do you think he just has to get to a complete desperate point to like, I got to take 37 shots a game? Or do you think it's just like, I'm still waiting?
He needs to have, I think, the playoff mentality, because we all know he goes into a different mode.
Yeah, in playoff, yeah.
He needs to have that all year. Not saying he doesn't, but
for this team.
Yeah, especially after you came off your injury, I will be shooting the ball 95% of the time. Give me the ball. Like, and then it's so much. And then we made a nice point that LeBron James never had like a legendary basketball coach. Mm-hmm. Do you think that plays a role? Not to Luke, but Luke is not a good basketball coach. I think Tyronn Lue is better than Luke. To be honest,
I do too. Yeah, because it's just like I think Eric Spoelstra may have been the best coach he ever had.
That's so sad.
Like, I actually think Eric Spoelstra may have been the best coach he ever had. And Spoelstra is a good coach. It's just like that's not what you're thinking of when you're thinking of the lineage of like
Right.
great coaches to coach
this
some of the
guy?
greatest players ever.
Yeah, like who is this guy? I didn't even know the guy before LeBron went over there. I was like, who? He looks like he's like a art teacher in middle school. Like, who is this guy?
All right, guys. Homer. Roll call.
Oh my God. Man, that was funny. Oh man, that is sad. He is a good coach. I'll give that. He is a good coach. Because after LeBron left,
they're still competent.
They were. I'm thinking of another year. They were like boo. Are
you gonna put David Blatt over him?
No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to bite the bullet. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do it. But I think he should just take over. Just if he had that in his arsenal, and I think he does, just do it.
Yeah, because
be a ball hog.
I mean, I feel like us saying there's a very good chance the Lakers, or you just saying you don't feel like the Lakers are going to make the playoffs, isn't an indictment on LeBron. It's just the fact of what's around him and the conference he's in. Because I feel like saying, yeah, I mean, like when some of us picked the Raptors over the Cavs last year, or even just feeling like the Cavs weren't going to get to the finals, I feel like that was probably more naive because of the conference he was in. And it was just like he was still that dominant and still was able to get a team like that inept at times to the biggest stage in the league for like the 8th straight year. I think like that was like probably the more naive thing to do than just comparing like him in the toughest conference in the league.
Is that kind of like sad because the East he's really understanding how a monster maybe this is what he wanted. He wanted competition. I don't know. It's so many things you can swing it. Or he wanted competition, so he went to the West and showed that he was that good. And
that's the thing. Like maybe the thing was, hey, I'm going to show that I can even be dominant in the best conference in the league. Like that's my next challenge. You know, and obviously that it did backfire.
Hot, daddy, hot. It really backfired. I don't know, man. I don't think the Surge, these last 22 games, they have to win all 22 games.
So you like Sacramento at the 8th spot and the Spurs the 7th?
I think so, because their schedule, man, right now.
It's brutal.
I
think they got like the 4th toughest schedule left.
They got the Grizzlies. They play the Pelicans, who just got smacked by. They have the Bucks. The Suns might be a win. Clippers, they lose. Nuggets, they lose. Celtics, they probably lose. Bulls, they win. Raptors lose. Pistons lose. Knicks,
win.
Sure. Yeah.
They have been scrappy lately.
I mean, with the new additions, but I don't. Yeah. I hate to see Westcom go. Dennis Smith Jr. Yeah. I liked him with the Mavericks, but Luke Doncic, your guy, is the sir over there now.
Mr. Luka.
Pika. No. He's a good player. He's just so slow. It's like
still not coming on the Luka bandwagon, man. There's still some room. There is still some room.
This is rookie year.
I'm passing out tickets. I'm letting people come in.
you gotta get past the second and third year for me to jump on the bandwagon, because everything happens, injuries, going through a slump.
I'm just saying when Porzingis starts playing next year, the bandwagon may be packed and there may not be enough room for people to come on. So just may want to make your reservations.
Well, remember do you remember what I said about Porzingis, that he could be a dominant force if he stayed healthy? This is his second year hurt.
Yeah, that's true.
Back-to-back years. So, yeah, cross fingers on that one. Jumping on the bandwagon, somebody's not even playing. Oh gosh. But if maybe
this was the Knicks' plan. Maybe the Knicks knew like he may be damaged goods.
Damaged goods maybe, because he did come on fire, then boom, hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, he's coming back. Boom, hurt again. But yeah, if he does play with that 2-game spring game, ooh, that's gonna be nasty. Who are they going to draft again? Well, okay, never mind. Yeah, moving on.
Transitioning to the Bucks and the Celtics this past Thursday, the Bucks won 98-97, and this is the first time I think in like 5 years that the Bucks have won the season series against Boston. And right now, like this is I think this is poised to be the second round matchup if Boston stays the 4th seed. And these two teams, I mean, obviously, I feel like Boston, they're content with letting Giannis get his because he's just so dominant in the paint. You know, he's constantly going to be around the rim, constantly getting easy buckets. And with Boston, I mean, Tatum had a pretty good game, and their 3-point shooting to me seemed a lot more improved coming out of the break. And you know, now they're in a position where this could be the team that they're poised to see in the second round. If they get the 3rd seed, they could see them in the conference finals. But what are your thoughts on the Bucks getting this season series win, and also how do you foresee a matchup like that if it's the second round in the postseason?
Ooh, that was a good game. I watched that game.
Yeah,
and man, hats off to Middleton, man.
Mm-hmm.
I like that guy. I like him a lot. If you posed a trade that I'm still thinking about to this day, but we already know Giannis is going to get his, and
yeah.
I think they're starting to become a unit. Last year they were pretty good, and they still have some spots where they weren't playing as a unit, like we see with the 76ers. Now, with the addition of Lopez, his 3-point shot is better than when he worked with the Lakers. They have everything. They have a bench too. It's like I don't see anybody beating them if everybody's on point. And then, like I said once again, if Giannis has his 3-point shot,
it is like if Giannis can, and that's the thing. For just playing devil's advocate, like let's say if Giannis adds a 3-point shot and it's like pretty effective in the postseason, like are they the clear favorite in the East?
It has to be.
Yeah.
Because Celtics still hasn't found theirs. The Raptors still have.
I like the Raptors.
Predominantly, the Raptors are still up there. They're definitely up there, but the amount of momentum that the Bucks has, I think it's if they get into a series in the Eastern Conference Finals, I'll have to give it to the Bucks because how they went out last year, they have to learn from their mistakes, have to learn from that series. And then I think that addition to Lopez, Middleton's playing lights out.
Mm-hmm.
Bledsoe is playing better. They're playing big minutes. All these guys average like 29, 30 minutes, and they're playing as a unit. Their starting 5 is really a good starting 5. And they're showing that with the amount of talent that the Celtics have. This, like you said, this is like the first year in a long time that they win the series. That has to say something. And before the season started, we all of us said this. I think even Micah was in on it too.
Yeah,
said
Micah.
The Celtics were
and Jeremy Ruffin.
And Jeremy Ruffin were the favorites in the East.
No
on
longer.
paper. Yeah,
no
longer that because we did say about if they had the chemistry, were the egos going to collide, different things like that. When you see a team play on all cylinders and play as a unit, have that chemistry like the Bucks have, you get 45 and 14.
Yeah.
And some of those games they should have won too.
Yeah, and they have the potential to win 30 road games this year. Like that's when you can do that, you are like elite. You know, like just in another tier. Because that's always special when it's in a season when a team can do that and they could have potential to win 65 games. So with this type of matchup, you would still give the edge to Milwaukee because they seem like the one who they have their identity even more than Boston does right now.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely think so. And you look at their schedule, they have some cakewalk, man. To be honest, they have some cakewalk. And the game I'm circling on their calendars for March 17 when they play the 76ers. And I want to see that game because I want to see what the matchup and how they'll play Giannis, how they'll play, and how the Bucks will play their big 3. But the crazy thing, they don't have a big 3 with the Bucks. That's what I like about it. There is Giannis, and then it's the other guy. I like that so much because it shows you what a team is really like when they play all cylinders and they have the chemistry. But I want to see that game. I want to see how Joel Embiid plays. See if he can. I'm still disappointed in the 76ers. Still disappointed.
Would you kind of have that? Because this is a 4-team race. Would you like have more? Because I would have, I think Milwaukee 1, Toronto 2, Boston 3, Philly 4.
I think the Celtics are going to pass the 76ers.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, because they were not even one. Well, they're one game behind.
Well, I mean, the Pacers are, I think, the third seed still.
Yeah, third seed, but I think the 76ers would get passed by the Celtics. It's just so much that.
So you see the Celtics like as the fifth seed?
I see the Celtics as the fourth seed.
Fourth seed, okay.
I think they'll pass the 76ers, just given the amount of talent they still have. And if they just understand and everybody get on the same page, do you not see the talent on your squad? Just get on the same page. And it's easier said than done. But I think the amount of talent, they have more talent, obviously, than the 76ers. I think they'll skip up because they're only one game behind.
Mm-hmm.
But
what if it's just set in stone, like the Celtics are not going to figure this out and Kyrie's out the door?
That's a big possibility.
You think that's a possibility?
I think if they go the distance, I think it's still a big possibility that he might leave.
Mm. Yeah.
Because now he sees like, oh crap, we can't all coexist because everybody is not on the same page. Everybody wants to be their own player. Because
I know they're not better without him, but it's just like they play with just so much more energy.
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be.
Yeah, and I mean, you definitely can make the case, but it's kind of just seeing the body language. They play with like just so much energy without him, and I don't know if it's like one of those things where, okay, we've got the old head who's saying like we're not in line, we don't know what it takes. It's just it's still there still seems like there's like because to me Al Horford has always been the leader, like the true leader of the team, and sometimes I just wonder about the power structure, kind of like the dynamic of like who really is the leader of that team, you know.
So is that quiet factor though. Al doesn't really say much.
Right. I mean, leading by action, I should say.
Yeah, of course, because he's the old guy. He's the old guy. But if the clear-cut leader it's probably Jason Tatum, man.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think people listen to Kyrie. Mm-hmm. I don't think people listen to Kyrie on that basketball team because it's the young guys, and Kyrie's mid-old. Mm-hmm. He's not old yet, but he's considered old.
He's like 26, 27, right?
Yeah, but he's been in the league long enough. Basketball years, he's kind of like the old head, like the mid-old head. And Al Horford is the old head because he's been in since, 2008?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2008. Went with the Hawks, and then he went to the Celtics. I don't think they listen to the guys because you see, like we reiterated again, you see what they did without him, and they have that mindset like, bro, we played great and went to the finals without you. Mm-hmm. How are you gonna come back and tell us anything?
So with the
without you.
Yeah, so with the Bucks, we because I feel like the X factor may be Eric Bledsoe, and in terms of like how he can, because he was a little up and down, like we saw in the Boston series, he was a little up and down. I feel like his consistency and the guard matchup in the East is going to be pivotal. But outside of Giannis, like who would you say like is the X factor on this team for them to, like a player who can kind of make or break their chances to get to the finals?
Make or break? That's hard. That's hard to say.
Yeah, not make or break, but it's just they're another pivotal factor outside of Giannis because obviously it's more than just this central force.
Oh my God, Chris Middleton.
Yeah, Chris Middleton. Yeah, that's right.
Hands down. Chris, man, he needs to go. He's like my Klay Thompson, man.
Really?
Klay could be so great on another team, but he's just good. Like Chris he's come up, and he's always been a 3-point guy, and he put the defensive effect on his game too. Now he's like that two-way player that you need. He's like really like a Scottie Pippen. I hate to say it, like a sidekick guy, but it's really like a Scottie Pippen. But he's definitely an X factor. He picks up a.
There's nothing wrong with being a Scottie Pippen.
It's not.
I feel like some people think like that's a diss. Like that's kind of not kind of like a undercurrent and not like that good of a compliment.
It maybe it's like if you the first person you remember on the Bulls is who?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Second player will be Scottie Pippen. Well, there you go. Most people want to be, I guess.
The first, yeah.
Yeah, but everybody says.
But just from a basketball sense, like.
Yeah, if Michael did have Scottie Pippen,
yeah,
he wouldn't have won those championships.
Yeah.
Because Scotty was at 2. Well, I'm not saying Mike wasn't, because Mike won Defensive Player of the Year a couple times. But without Scotty, and we saw that before Scotty got drafted, that he wouldn't win those championships without Scottie Pippen. And the crazy thing, Scotty wasn't even supposed to go to the Bulls. I forgot what team was supposed to draft him, but they opted not to, and the Bulls picked him up, which was crazy. But that's NBA for you. But
yeah.
Chris, and I like their chemistry. I like their relationship, and they push each other to be great. And you see that on and off the court, because I saw a couple interviews that Giannis did in the summer. He kind of put Chris on a pedestal. He was like, man, he's a great teammate. He taught me a lot when I came over here, from overseas. So I like the chemistry and how they play together, how they pick up each other's slack, and they really bounce off each other, like Kobe and Shaq and Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, to give some. But no, I like how they play together, and it shows, man. I love that chemistry, that ball movement. They do everything well.
Yeah.
They do everything well. But if Giannis can add that to his arsenal, he's the number 1 player in the world, hands down.
And even if go ahead, yeah.
No, go ahead.
And even if Giannis doesn't, you still feel like they're good enough to get to the finals.
Almost dead.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to Eastern Conference.
Eastern Conference Finals for sure.
Now NBA Finals, they have, if they match up with the Raptors,
Toronto. I see that going 7 if they
most definitely. Most definitely. They match up pretty good, but man, I like the claw, but I like Giannis a whole lot better.
Yeah.
That's not perfect English, but we're gonna go with it.
What was your question?
Oh man, I kind of forgot. No, then I forgot it. Sorry.
Man.
I'm getting old.
Full scope listeners on the edge of their seats, just waiting for that question. I'm always giving out the question. Something different.
Something different. Avon has a question. Oh my God, I forgot the question, man. Oh dang, that was a good question too. It'll come back to me.
All right. Well, transitioning to the MVP race, it's interesting because another person who's just like constantly climbing up the ranks is Paul George. He's had just a flat out phenomenal year, Defensive Player of the Year favorite, and what he's been able to do, because OKC, I think ever since the Durant departure, they kind of felt like, okay, we're never going to get a replacement for that. And George has kind of almost fit in that role, perfectly. Right. And then Giannis and Harden have been, the top 2. And this race is kind of, because I was reading an article about Brian Windhorst on ESPN where he was talking about this is like an ideological battle, because the media loves Harden, but a lot of the players, they don't like how he goes up, how he kind of takes advantage of things and can get away with it, because, Steph, he did he almost did like, the same move Harden always gets away with, and he gets called for a travel, and he was looking at the ref like, okay, 13 does that all the time, never gets called for it. You know what I mean? And there's the manipulation factor that some players have an issue with, and Giannis has just has had a breakout year, and they're one in the East. But in terms of like who you would give the edge to now, and also how much of a factor of the media love, and also like kind of the player disagreement with Harden, what are your overall thoughts on it?
Move out the way is a new sheriff of town. I got to give it to Giannis. Giannis is playing lights out. He's playing lights out basketball. He's helping his team win. He's not saying these other guys are not, but it's time for new blood. Mm-hmm. And the difference between Giannis and James doesn't show up in the playoffs. Now, I know this is just for the regular season and before the playoff starts, but my MVP is throughout the entire NBA season. That's off-season, playoffs, training camp, and whatever the case may be. I want that guy to be the same guy or better throughout the year. Giannis has done that. He's done that multiple years. It's time to give him the shot, but I definitely agree with other players because, back in the day, Michael Jordan used to get away with pushing people off all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. The famous shot
is a push off.
Push off. And
It's I think Byron
he won't
Russell.
say it. He won't say it. He did an interview a couple of times and they mentioned that. He was like, well, I ain't gonna say nothing about that. You pushed the man. He flew. But now it's like it's common now. So I think that the travel thing or him, giving some leeway because he kind of, irks the system, twerks the system to how he sees it. I mean, it's strategic. I'm not gonna say it's not because it's some stipulations in there that you could get away with. Obviously, he's been doing it for how many years he's been in the league? That's a terrible question. But I mean, I think it has to be equal because I've seen, like you said, Steph Curry did the same exact thing,
Right?
Step by step, and then boop, boop, boop.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's going to be like the same, doing with him now, but it's all bang bang. Some of these referees are different too, so they're going to allow a couple of things because there's a lot of guys who travel all the time. They don't say anything about it. There's a lot of guys who double dribble or carry and they say nothing about it. So I think it just depends on the referee in a bang bang type of play. So I don't think it's just James Harden who gets away with travel. It's just highlighted because he doesn't play defense, so we have a highlight on his offense. So he travels all the time. Because LeBron, the other day, Steph Curry traveled throwing an alley to, I think, Kevin Durant or somebody. He traveled.
Right.
And then he also traveled to All-Star game when he threw that alley hoop to Giannis too.
Amazing.
That ain't they called it, yeah. So, because he stepped like 4 times and did.
Yeah.
And bounced it up. But that was a good game. Did you watch it?
Yeah. It was.
I did not.
Durant wins yet another All-Star MVP. Yeah.
He was shooting it pretty good though.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, this is the question I had. Okay.
Uh-oh.
All right. So
hold your seats, Full Scope listeners.
So is Kevin Durant the best player of the world now? Has he dethroned LeBron James? Has he dethroned LeBron James?
I would say no.
Okay.
In terms of offensive skill set, like he's right there with him. But I think like in terms of like this is the barometer I use. Who would I want in a game 7 of any series that I have to win? I mean, like that's just a must-win game. And LeBron, obviously, like there's been some regression in terms of health and him being able to stay like as healthy as he usually does. Like last year, he was able to play all 82 games. This year, missing 17 straight games. But yeah, they're right like neck and neck, but I'd still give the edge to LeBron just because in terms of what he can do both ends of the floor and just his overall impact. But I mean, I feel like this is one of the reasons Durant wants to leave Golden State is to show that he actually is overall the best player in the world.
Well, he has a funny way of showing it because I would have stayed at OKC to show that I was the best player in the world. But yeah, we're two different people. But no,
do you think he's past him?
No, I don't think so. Just the overall, I think LeBron James is the overall best player.
Yeah.
Now, KD's a better shooter, obviously.
Of course.
But I don't know. I think LeBron James is overall best player still to this day. And still champion.
So if the Lakers don't make the playoffs and we have all these other players in, like who would be the best player in the postseason this year?
The best player. Ooh, that's a good question. Both sides or
yeah, just overall.
I don't want to choose the obvious choice in Giannis. I'm gonna say Paul George, man.
Wow.
I'm gonna say Paul because Paul has been playing.
Lights out.
This is not new though.
This isn't really new. Yeah, he just didn't have as good of a year last year, and he took a huge jump his second year.
Yes, because now the chemistry is better. He understands,
and he obviously made the right choice.
Yeah, he definitely made the right choice. I think he would have did the same thing with the Lakers, but I think.
Could you imagine?
Yes, I could imagine. That would help out LeBron James so much because they don't have that.
LeBron's like, I could have used that. I could have used the Defensive Player of the Year favorite.
I could have used that. Yeah, I definitely could have used that. Did you see him? The meme with him and Anthony Davis, LeBron James.
Oh yeah,
doing the look.
The look. Hey man, I can use you these last 22 games.
Soon, but no, I think Paul George is the best player.
You're going to sit out.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey, look, I'm going to find a way to get you to LA. You almost had to. You was going to give up everybody. And then they fired the general manager. So maybe the deal might go back through, in the summer or something.
Especially if Mr. David Griffin comes in there. He may be like, hey, LeBron, here's a favor.
Right. And then they'll get, Kuzma. And I think it's worth give him Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo, and a first-round pick. Leave it alone. That's a good.
Still want to give up Kuz? Still want to give up Kuz?
Yeah,
they would have to give up Kuz. They would have to.
No, who else are gonna give up?
Yeah, Josh Hart.
And then, they probably won't Josh. Josh hasn't panned out like I thought he was because in the NBA Summer League he was playing lights out for them.
Yeah,
really, he was playing lights out. He's the 3-point guy. He's supposed to be the 3-point guy, but he hasn't panned out the way I thought he would. But
yeah. So you would say Paul George if LeBron's Paul.
I got Paul. Even if LeBron James is in there, I'll still give it to Paul George.
Wow.
To play like that with Russell Westbrook.
And that's the thing. It's who he's playing with.
It definitely matters who he's playing with.
Yeah.
Because as you can see, KD couldn't do it. He couldn't do it for long. We're going to see how long this chemistry lasts between them because they really got buddy-buddy. But we'll see how long that lasts. Mm-hmm. You see KD can do it. I think James probably could have if they would never traded him away to the Houston Rockets. But I like how he's playing, man. He's playing lights out, both sides of the ball. I think he's a stealing leader. Mm-hmm. He has the most steals. And he's been playing lights out. He's averaging, 27, 28 points a game now?
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. Man, you can't beat that.
And before we move on, I mean, I would give the edge to Harden just because of the fact that he's had to do this out of like sheer necessity.
You said in the postseason, right?
No, I mean MVP. I'm going back to the MVP discussion.
MVP.
Yeah, I'm definitely not. I'm not saying Harden overall. No.
I was like, you talking the postseason, right?
Have you seen his defensive number?
Right. I was like, I had to make sure you knew what
what we're talking about. But yeah, in terms of the MVP race, I would give the edge to Harden because over like when he went on that crazy barrage, like 39, averaging 39 points. They went 21-10, and they were originally 15 in the West, and now they're, I believe, 5th. And if he doesn't do that, they're not at that same position, even though Giannis and I feel as though the narrative and just the momentum will give Giannis the award. I do think like Giannis will get it. I just feel as though Harden's had the more impressive season because of what he's had to do out of sheer necessity. But before we move on, I had a question for you. When I don't know if you saw, but Steph Curry and Mike Budenholzer were talking. I think like courtside at one of the practices in the All-Star and in the All-Star weekend, and pretty much what Steph was telling Bud was Steph was like really complimenting Harden on what he had been doing, but Harden was like, "Look, this is not the way I really want to play. Like I'm doing this because I have to, but I'd love to be in a system where I'm playing a beautiful brand of basketball, just like you and the Spurs and what the Bucks are doing." What are your thoughts on a comment like that, where we're seeing Harden is having so much success, but also apparently like this is not the system he really wants to play in?
Well, you go back to before he was traded again, and they played a great band of basketball with him, Russell Westbrook, and KD. So he understands when they don't even run an offense. I don't even think they run an offense, to be honest, man. They don't run the offense at all. So it's just him step back, dribble, shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Oh,
sorry,
so there?
The headphones the headphones are going crazy, man. But I think that's interesting, him saying it out loud, though, because I'm pretty sure he recognized that a couple of times. And, we always thought when Chris Paul came over, there'll be more of a balance, and they'll run a type of offense to keep balance. And it did for a while. But then they start traded guys away, different people leaving. Now I have to pick up the slack again before everybody left. So I feel his pain about that. But then I think about, can he even fit in that type of system? Is he willing to to fit in that type of system? You know, like, that's the question I pin to
Is he
that
going to be
type of
most
player.
efficient in that system, like playing more off the ball? I don't think so.
I don't think the ball has to be in his hands.
Yeah.
It has to be. That's the type of player he is. That's where he gets his energy from, and that's why I thought it was funny when I read the quote, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
I don't think you would be in that. I don't think you could fit
Would
in
you
the
have this much
system.
success if you were playing in that type of system?
Right. I don't think you can shoot off the ball. Like I don't think he can fit in the system with the Warriors. Or the Bucks, or even the Toronto Raptors. That's the
When
type
he
of
started
player.
playing point guard, Mike D'Antoni's first season, and Harden was hesitant doing it. But when D'Antoni made him point guard his first year here, that's when everything just flipped.
Yeah, and I don't think he can get that back.
Yeah,
I think you're the type of player he's morphed into inadvertently without wanting to. Is the type of player we know now. And maybe you played defense before you went to point guard. Maybe you never played defense. But the type of player we see you as is a scorer. That's what you are. And you got to live with it. And I understand that he might want to, play with that type of offense smoothly. But if you have that type of, not guilt, but that type of feeling or, towards that, say something to your coach. Hey, can we run some plays? Can we do something? But I don't think they have the players.
I mean, he can voice if he wants, a different sense run. I'm sure D'Antoni would acquiesce to him and be like, okay, yeah, like we'll do a couple of that.
But I've literally have not seen them run plays like that. It's always a pick and roll or him dribble, shoot. If he's not open, pass it off. Okay, you shoot. Yeah. You never run an offense, but that was an interesting quote, though. Yeah, maybe it'll change, though. Maybe it'll change.
Yeah. Transitioning to the NFL, and before we talk about this, in terms of just a general question, we're going to talk about the Robert Kraft situation. In terms of league management and ownership, like how much of do you feel as though there's a growing percentage that is corrupt, or do you think it's kind of been just always there, but now we're just seeing it just kind of come to light even more?
Yes, for all sports, I'm just gonna be broad right quick. All sports are corrupt, and no one's exempt from that. But in this case, the NFL is definitely corrupt because it's politics has to be. That's why they go get the Supreme Judge. That's why they bring other, principal lawyers in from excuse me, from DC down to handle certain situations. But it's all politics, and it's a business, and you're gonna have corrupt business. That's just what it is, man. It's it's a crazy business.
Yeah,
it's funny, Robert Kraft, man.
Yeah, and he was he was charged with soliciting prostitution as a result of like a human trafficking investigation, and in 2014, Jim Irsay, the Colts owner, he was suspended 6 games and fined $500,000. After he pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor count of operating a vehicle while intoxicated, and it was it was still a scandal, but this one it's just I think a more glaring scandal. It's going to get more more media coverage, and his son is still involved in the decision making process. But in terms of just the repercussions of this, because of this just being a glaring scandal, like how do you think that? Like, I know it's tough to kind of predict or even just kind of summarize, but how do you think the league will deal with a situation like this?
Well, I think they're going to deal with it like the Deflategate and Spygate and all that other stuff when it comes to the Patriots. They're going to get the maximum penalty. They're going to try to bring the hammer down on them, but I don't think this is the first time this has happened for NFL owners, especially what type of stage he's on, winning all the Super Bowls, having his hand in different things, being in the urban side of things, his hands in the urban side of things. So it's funny how they highlight things or things come to the surface where the player or person is on a bigger stage than most. And I'm not trying to justify any of that because, dude, what are you doing? You getting
Right.
prostitutes and stuff like that's. Come on, man.
Yeah.
But things like this come to the light where guys are maximally successful, and they have a target on their back. And Robert Kraft is he's not exempt for that. But they're gonna try to give him the max penalty or the max repercussion for this. They're not gonna take it easy on. They didn't take it easy on Tom. They're not gonna take it easy on Belichick. They're not gonna take it easy on anybody. Now, if this was another organization, it would probably been swept under the rug. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It probably been swept under the rug. But knowing the background,
do you think like it being this organization even highlights it more because of all the other scandals they've been involved in?
Most definitely. I was just about to say that. Yeah. All the scandals and the court cases and stuff they've been against. Now, if this was the Dallas Cowboys, swept under the rug, I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
It just depends on organization. And Robert Kraft, like I said, he's in the urban lifestyle now with Jay-Z and Meek Mill and all these guys. And you have the Deflategate, all these scandals. There's so much. He has a big target on his back, and they just, let's see what he's doing now. Oh, we caught you with this. I'm going to highlight it. It's not, once again, I'm not saying what he did was right or justifying what he did. I'm just saying things all get swept in a rug depending on the organization or the person.
Yeah. I would definitely agree because like that's kind of at the crux of it because the league has to, especially when it's an organization like this, they're going to give the maximum penalty because of so many other scandals the Patriots have been in, and just because of how glaring of a scandal it is, and that's something that definitely plays into the decision. I would think. Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting how that plays out. They're definitely gonna give them
suspension.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably definitely suspension. Probably can come to the facility or the games. They're gonna have an owners meeting about it. There's gonna be a lot of stuff, and they'll probably try to penalize, try to give charges. I think charges already were put on them.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So,
yeah, they were.
Yeah, they're not gonna take lightly on him. It's like I said, if it was anybody else, this would have been swept under the rug.
Yeah. Well, that wraps it up for tonight. I'm your host, Winston Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. This has been Full Scope. See you later. Go Roma.